Welcome back, guys. Now, I wasn't going to film this here, but it may help somebody out there that's got a Ford Escape 2-liter engine, and mine is a 2001. This probably is going to apply from anywhere from 2000 to 2004. Now, what we have here is we got some coolant pipes, and they're metal, and I've got two different ones on here that's leaking in two different locations. One of these coolant pipes runs behind the catalytic converter, so you have to drop the exhaust system to get to this, which I've already done, and I will put a link in the bottom of this here video in the description so you can see what's involved to drop the exhaust system down to get this coolant pipe. Now, I've already done that. The exhaust system is dropped, which fortunately for me this time around was a piece of cake. Because in the first video of where I did this exhaust system, it was pretty seized bolts, and after I got anti-seize on there, so everything came down, so I had it all down in about a half an hour. Okay, the other one is over by the, and I'm going to show you all that, and probably show you where it's at, and also we'll do a little disassembly and put new parts on. So maybe this might be a two-parter, I don't know. But anyway, I'll show you where the other one is leaking at, and it's over by the engine oil cooler. This is where the oil filter screws on to the engine oil cooler, and that's over on the front of the engine. So let me show you what we got. And one other thing is, while I'm in here, I'm thinking, we got some thermostat housing. It's made out of plastic, although it's not leaking. Then I have another housing that's made out of plastic, and it's up underneath the car, so I figured I'll just replace that. Now, I don't have all of the parts, but I do have some of them, so we'll get started and we'll start changing some of the things that we already do have. So let me show you where all of this stuff is located, show you the leaks, and then we'll start from there. Okay, we're looking at the left side of the engine here. You can see here's the exhaust manifold, so I've got all this here disconnected, catalytic converter, of course, bolts up under there. So let's take you underneath the car, which we're going to be looking right up underneath here, and I'll show you this here coolant pipe, one of them that's leaking. Alright, so we're looking on the left side of the engine, and here is one of these here coolant pipes, and there it is right there. And you can see right up there in this area, it looks like it's leaking right up in there. And if I come down, you can look right here on the oil pan, you can see some of the antifreeze right up in here. So we're going to be replacing that pipe right there. And also, going up there to the very top, you can see there's a rubber elbow up there. So we're going to be replacing that also. And the other end of this here is going to be connecting back up to right up here. And this is where the other end of this here metal pipe comes up to. It connects to a rubber hose, which then goes to this here plastic housing, which then also has another hose branching out, going to a metal tube on the front of the engine. Then it also comes down. There you go. Maybe that's a little better shot. And this is where, this is a lower radiator hose that goes into that thermostat, or not a thermostat, but the plastic housing. So we're going to be replacing that also. And all these hoses here, they're molded into the housing here, this here plastic housing. So you basically, if you want to replace a hose, you're going to be replacing it all along with that plastic housing. Now, where that plastic housing was at that we just looked at, one of the hoses is coming off, and now it's connected to this here short metal coolant pipe. It's bolted to the side of the crankcase here. We're looking at the front of the engine, and then there's this molded rubber elbow, and then it goes back and it connects into the engine oil cooler. And then there's another pipe, rubber pipe, that's coming off the engine oil cooler, and that's going up there to the inlet of the heater core. And then of course off the heater core, then it comes off with another pipe hose, and that's going over to the thermostat housing. Alright, so this here is also leaking. So this here is rusted out a little bit. So we're going to be replacing that along with this hose, along with that housing, because this hose is molded into that plastic housing I was talking about. And of course here, this here metal tubing comes with this here rubber elbow, so we'll replace that. And the hose is coming off of the other side of the engine oil cooler. That's going to be going up to the heater core, and then we're going to replace that also. I know this is probably hard to see, but now we're back up on the top of the engine, near the back. You can see here's the exhaust manifold. And right here, this is that metal tubing that's coming up. It's hard to see probably where my finger's at. There's one of the hose clamps. And that's coming up, and that's going over to the thermostat housing right here. And then of course we have this hose that's going back up to the top of the radiator. So we're going to be replacing all of that also. One last thing. These two hoses right here, they're going back to the heater core. Alright, the one that's over on the right hand side, which is this one here, is going down to the engine oil cooler. That's down there where the oil filter is at. This hose that's on the left is going back, it's going over, and it's coming back over, and it's going to the thermostat housing. Right there. So it's coming back in on the back side, which we cannot see. The first thing I'm going to start doing is I'm going to work on this engine coolant line here that's on the left side of the engine. Now it's going to be tough here putting the camera up, so it should be pretty easy here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start working on this rubber elbow. Got one hose clamp there. There's another hose clamp on the other end. Right up in there, it might be hard to see. And then there's going to be a spring hose clamp back on the other side. Right, maybe right where my finger's at. Right there. So there's a hose clamp. And then once I get that done, then I'm going to take these two bolts loose. One there, and then there's one there. 13 millimeter will take care of that for you. And by the way, if you ever want to do a timing job on here, the timing pin is located right underneath here, the dummy timing pin. So you'll take this out, you'll screw another plug out, and then you'll put your timing pin. I have videos on doing the timing belt installation on this job if you're interested. I'll put a link in the video below this video here if you're interested in that. Alright, so let me get going on that. Giving you a shot up above to where that metal pipe connects to this rubber hose over here, so that's what I'm working on, separating that right now. Might get so you can see it better up here than you can from underneath. And here's the pipe we just took off that's behind the catalytic converter. Alright, I'm going to start working on this here plastic housing right here. I've already released the clamp here that goes up to the radiator. This is like the lower radiator hose. And then this hose right over here is going over to the water pump. Let me swing you over there to the front of the engine so I can show you how that connects. Alright, if you look right there in the back, you look to your left, you'll see a hose clamp. That's where the other end of that pipe is going to. And that is going to be a bear to get to. Alright, so that's what I'm going to be working on also. Okay, hopefully you'll be able to see I got that hose clamp back on the water pump. I got it pulled back. And now, working on this right here. Let's go ahead and we'll separate that. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be working on this here hose clamp right back here. I'm going to loosen it up and I'm going to try to slide this whole assembly off. Of course we have one bolt right here. It probably looks like about maybe a 8 or 9 millimeter. Okay. Alright, so we have that off of there now. By the way, that bolt right there, that bolt was 8 millimeter socket, took care of it. And now you can get a look at the one outlet of the engine oil cooler. That's where it was located at rubber elbow. Okay. Alright, here's that plastic assembly. It was up on the passenger side there. Alright, this here just to recap, this hose right here went to the lower outlet on the radiator. This one right here went to the water pump. This one right here went to the metal line that goes behind the catalytic converter. And this one right here connects to that metal line that was on the front of the engine. This way you can get a view of it. Okay. Alright, we're going to pull off this hose off of this oil cooler. This is the one that's going up to the heater core. It's tough filming this stuff here by yourself. Soraya's out selling some houses. She's a real estate broker. So I am on my own. So we got that one undone now. Now let's go up on the top side and let's go work up on that heater core. I mentioned this one on the right is going down there to the heater core. Let's pull him on off. This one over here, that's going back up to the thermostat housing. It's on the back of the engine. Alright, here's this here coolant hose that's going from the engine oil cooler, which is on this end, and the other end is going up to the right hand side of the heater core. So let me pick it up just so you can get an idea, you can see how the bends are. Okay, so basically it'll be going in the car just like that. That's going to the heater core. You can see the bends. It's got one here. Let's look at that end. This is going on the top side of the engine oil cooler. Alright, let's go and work on the thermostat housing. Alright, on this here, guys, to get to this thermostat housing, which is right here, I removed the air intake. Okay, no big deal there. The issue comes where trying to get down to this here Corbin hose clamp. It's a spring type hose clamp, and the orientation of the tangs there, I couldn't get anything on it. So I had to wind up removing this here coil pack. Okay, so basically I've already done it, but I'll give you to show you what was involved. Just disconnect your connector. There's a connector over here. Unplug it. Pass it back through. Tuck it out of the way. Now there's 3 bolts that holds this whole bracket assembly here, this coil pack. The bolts look like this right here. It's T40. Okay.
Okay.
2 of them up here, and then there's one right down up underneath, and you'll see it once we get it out of the way. Also, one other thing, there's a bolt that's right here. There's a bracket that supports this here EGR tube, so go ahead and take that bolt out. Then you can just take this whole thing, swing it up out of the way. Now you can get a good view of this here thermostat housing. Now you can see where that hose is connected right there. Once I swung this out of the way, then I was able to get to this here hose clamp down here. And of course this here hose goes down here, over there on the left hand side of the heater coil, which we've already talked about. So let me work on this hose, break it loose, and also then I'm going to go ahead and get that hose and I'm going to take him out. And one other thing is I've already taken loose this here upper radiator hose. You can see I've got it over here on the side. I've just got it tucked up out of the way. Okay? It's probably a good thing we're going to be changing this thermostat housing, because looking at this thing, you can see right down in here, you can see where it's wet. So it probably has a little minute crack in this thing. Okay? Here's the hose that was connected to the thermostat housing. That was this one in right here. And then the other end right here, that went to the left side of the heater coil. Okay, just so you can get a look at it. You can see the bends in it. Okay. First thing you want to do to get this thermostat housing off, so there's going to be this here cable. This cable is going down to your crankshaft position sensor. All you have to do is take it, pull it back, get it off of this stud. Take this here, loosen it up, It's going to be a 10 millimeter. Then you got these two bolts up here, 10 millimeter. So we'll take that stud out. He goes on the bottom. Take this bolt out. The two bolts are the same length, same as the stud. Okay, that's what you'll have.
Okay.
Then you'll take your thermostat housing and just lift it right out of there. Okay?
Okay.
Now when you take it off, you're going to see that there's going to be a gasket right here. See if I can pull him out of there for you so you can see what he looks like.
Oh, finally, there we go.
Okay, so you see there's a groove there. And you can see what that gasket looks like. Okay?
Yeah.
Now you can see that your thermostat is right down in here. And you can actually buy this here piece, this here water outlet thermostat housing separately from this here housing here. But why in the world would you do that? If you go to this trouble to replace this thing, why just replace one part? Replace it all. And while you're here, you replace the thermostat also. So replace everything. Not that big a deal. So you can see that's what it looks like once you get everything off. So there's those two holes up here for the two bolts. Then you can see the one down here on the bottom. That's where the stud will go to. Okay. The last thing I'm going to be replacing is this here upper radiator hose. But to get to this hose clamp, it's right behind the battery. So I'm going to be removing the battery. So I've already got these here nuts already loose on the strap. I got the battery cables disconnected. So we'll slide him out. And we'll lift the battery right out of there.
Woohoo!
Yep. Okay, we can get to it a little bit easier now. I just got another one of them Corbin hose clamps on there. So let me get some pliers and loosen that up. I see a little bit easier way to get to this hose clamp down here. You just remove this here gusset for this radiator support. Two bolts, one here, then this here Torx bolt, which will go right down in here. So now let's just relieve and get it out of there. So now we got access directly right above the hose clamp. See it?
Mm-hmm.
A little bit more on the hose clamp, I guess.
Oh, thank you.
Need some aggravating damn clamps, I'm telling you.
There you go.
Okay. And now take note that this here hood cable is going up above this here hose right here. This cable right here.
Okay.
So it's coming up above this hose. And there is the upper radiator hose. Okay?
That looks okay.
Yep, for right now. But you know what? We're going to replace it. Let's get it all out of here.
Okay.
Now the only thing that's really left as far as hoses on this entire cooling system from what I've seen is this here for the overflow and this one right here. Now I've looked at them really good, checked them, felt them. I'm not going to bother with them. They look fine.
Good.
But if anything was to happen, they're real easy to get to, so I'm not going to worry about those right there. Okay?
Okay.
Alright. Alright guys, that's going to wrap up this video. And this video was just pretty much showing you where to take all this stuff off. And I'm pretty much replacing every coolant item that's on this car. When you got something that's 16 years old, you're replacing one thing, or two things. In my case, I had two leaks here on two metal lines. Just replace it all. You're already in there. So anyway, in the next video, we'll start putting all this stuff back. I'll throw out the part numbers for you. Pretty much everything that's I'm going to be putting back on here is going to be OEM, Motorcraft. So I'll give you the numbers on this stuff here in case you ever run across something. You have one of these items that's gone bad. You can look and review through the video, pick out your item, and then there's your part number for you. Alright, so that's going to wrap it up. You guys take care. We'll see you in the next one.